But there's freaks outside of Congress that need a good tongue lashing. So, the speakership debacle, what are we in, day 5, day 20, who knows anymore, is underway. They're trying to force a vote on something. I don't know. Wait, force the vote? That sounds familiar. So, one of the side effects of this Republican Party media circus stunt is that a lot of online commentators are grifting off of this. Now, I know I've already alienated 80% of the people watching this video clip when I post it. I know they're already triggered. They're already crying in the comments. But just please hear me out. Hear me out. Force the vote! Force the vote! Here is Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald discussing what's going on.
What I think a lot of people don't realize watching the thing with Kevin McCarthy and his, this desperation to get almost every Republican vote on his side to become a speaker, which gives every Republican member great power because the small majority means they each have leverage. Back in 2020, Nancy Pelosi was in a very similar position. She had very few votes that she could lose, which vested every individual Democrat with a great deal of power because they could withhold their vote to make her speaker in exchange for some kind of concession. And you came up with and
So once again, concession. No, we're not talking about the movie theater. Okay? Which you shouldn't be at anyway because it's overpriced and you're going to get sick. So we're not have you ever bought popcorn in there? I mean, Jesus Christ. Not to mention the candy. But anyway, what are these concessions that they got? The concession is we get to have like a vote of no confidence. That's not really a concession. It's not a concession. But again, let's rewind. Force the vote. Force the vote! Ah! Force the vote. What were they advocating for? Well, Jimmy is about to remind us what they're advocating for. But, well, let's just wait for Jimmy to tell us.
Pioneered a theory or a strategy that you called force the vote that I think incited one of the bitterest and most hateful infighting episodes within left liberal politics that I've seen in a long time for really revealing reasons. So explain to people what that strategy was for those who don't remember back in 2020. What was the scenario with Pelosi and why did it lead to such vitriol against you?
Again, just like the McCarthy's in that spot. So when the squad got elected, they called them the squad. And why do you call them the squad? Because they're supposed to act together, right? So if they acted together and voted together, they could actually deny Nancy Pelosi the speakership, right? So that was my idea. Hey, in order for her to get elected as speaker, she needs your votes. You can deny it to her if you vote as a block, as a squad. And so now you can extract something from your vote, just like the right wing of the Republican parties.
So, extract something. Now, I've made so many fucking videos about this guy that I'm sure everyone who's a fan of this guy already knows that I'm one of the top Jimbo Dumbo haters in the history of Jimbo Dumbo haters. That said, I'm going to pin extract. Extract. You can get something out of her. Right? But what?
Doing. So that was the idea. It wasn't my idea, Glenn. The idea was in the DSA's handbook from 2 years earlier. And they all ran on doing something like this. AOC ran. She used to complain when she ran for office the first time that we can't even get a vote on Medicare for all on the House floor. We can't even get a vote. So when I decided, well, you now have the power to extract something with your vote for her as speaker, that would be the thing we've all agreed on for a generation, that we need to get a vote for Medicare for all on the House floor. I thought that would be an easy thing that we all agreed on. We all do agree on it. They pretended to not agree, meaning the squad, AOC, all those people pretended that that was a bad strategy. It's not a strategy. It's a thing that you do. It's politics 101. It's what the Republican right wing is doing right now.
So there's a part 2 here. Let me scroll down.
And they all ran. And so they didn't do it, and what they did was they got their minions in the press, like at TYT, you mentioned those people, Cenk Uygur, Ryan Grimm at The Intercept.
So keep in mind, he's still blathering And yet we still don't know what the goal was to extract. Medicare for all floor vote. That's it? That's it? But what is that going to do? Now, if there was a Medicare for all floor vote, we would get no information. Now, would it be cool? Yeah, sure. But we would get no information. You might be thinking, what? No. We would see who would vote for it and vote against it. Now, I don't know if Jimmy Dore knows what the United States Senate is. I'm not sure. But let's imagine Medicare for all passed the House. It wouldn't, but let's imagine it did. Everyone voting on Medicare for all would know for a fact it would fail in the U.S. Senate. As a result, people could vote for Medicare for all for positive optics, knowing full well it will never become law, get the positive press, and then wash their hands of it. So if the goal, now again, I know we've talked this to death, I understand, but if the goal was to get a list of people to primary, I mean, this is coming from the same guy who says, don't primary people in the Democratic Party, go to the People's Party. So I don't know why he was advocating for a list of people to primary when he doesn't support primaries. But again, if that was the goal, that wouldn't be accomplished. Now, am I saying that I love the squad? No, I don't really. Honestly, I'm ambivalent on the squad. I don't care. I don't think they're going to be capable of doing anything. I don't think our government is ever going to do anything for us. I think most of the time, talking about the government is a waste of our fucking time and money. So that's my opinion. But this strategy, this so-called strategy that this guy has been whining about, and stupid-ass fucking bitches like Brianna Joy Gray have been whining about for years now, 2 years now. They've been whining. And a couple months, because they were whining about it before January 21. And the strategy that they're explaining, literally, and I said this 2 years ago, it doesn't even pass the smell test. It doesn't fucking make sense. Now again, I hate Congress. I wish it weren't this way. But there's two things. There's two parts of politics. There's one, how we navigate the world as we are right now. And two, what we advocate for and want to achieve. I want to achieve Medicare for all. I know it will not happen right now. I know it won't happen in the next couple years. I know it won't happen in the next 5 years. I'm going to fight for it. But you know what? Making this force to vote grifting operation, that's not fighting for Medicare for all. It's not. It's not. And what did Jimmy Dore do the same year he was advocating for force to vote for Medicare for all, force to vote, force to vote? A couple months later, he was publicly antagonizing free, universal, effective health care. Not even 6 months in to the force the vote grift, Jimmy Dore, when for the first time, I'm 26, for the first time in my lifetime, the U.S. government gave people free, effective, safe health care, known as the COVID vaccine. Free. A test case for a deadly disease in a pandemic that has killed millions of motherfuckers. And the only time we had a pilot case, a test case of free healthcare in this country, Jimmy Dore was against it. When Bernie Sanders was running for president, and he looked like he might win, what did Bernie Sanders run on? Medicare for all. Who did Jimmy Dore endorse? Tulsi Gabbard, who ran against Medicare for all and endorsed Joe Biden. So at every pivotal moment where free healthcare has been on the table in any capacity, Jimmy Dore has been against it. So once again, I ask you this. If you fell for this 2 years ago, I get it. But if you were, I don't know where people's journeys have led them, but if you're still in the same exact mindset 2 years later, you're stagnating, my friends. You need to grow up. You need to evolve. You need to learn. You need to read books. You need to broaden your media diet. If you are still here, now I stopped making Jimmy Dore videos a long time ago because honestly it got boring. This guy just says the same stupid shit over and over again. But if you are still in this guy's orbit, man, I don't even know. But let's continue. He's got 2 minutes here. Let's continue.
And they all ran interference. Or also, David Sirota came on my show and said Kevin McCarthy could become speaker.
So once again, this guy is just like listing out people he personally doesn't like. This isn't like a grand strategy operation. We're not debating the logical, outcome of the country. This is just him whining about Twitter fights from 2 years ago. Could you imagine someone trying and pretending to be a serious political analyst, spending 2 years of their life whining about a Twitter fight they got into? This is a serious political analyst? He's been whining about the same fucking Twitter fights for years. For years. Now, we all know at this point about the saga of Libtard 01. Does anyone remember the saga of Libtard 01? I don't remember if I covered it or not, but pretty entertaining. So, Jimmy Dore loves Twitter fights. He's addicted. That's his drug of choice, along with alcohol. And it was exposed that Jimmy Dore has alt accounts, one of them called Libtard01, and he stokes Twitter fights on purpose. He would yell at people on his alt account and get them to respond, bait them, and then on his main account say, look at these people, look at how mean they are to me. So I wonder how much of that drama was manufactured. I wonder how many alts he's had. We just found out about Libtard01 a couple months ago. Which, great username, by the way, Libtard01. But anyway, we found out about that a couple months ago. I wonder how many alts this guy has had for years. This guy's addicted to Twitter. Now, this guy's addicted to many things, but Twitter is probably less healthy than the alcohol. And I say that as a fellow alcoholic. Twitter is probably way worse for your health than alcohol will ever dream of being. Let's be honest. So why are we, 2 years later, listening to Jimmy Dore whining about a Twitter thread he got in an argument with 2 years ago? I don't know, for entertainment, baby. I'm just doing this for clicks. Someone's going to come on here. People, when I post this clip on YouTube, bookmark it, check it in a week, and scroll down and look at the comments, and that's why I'm making this video. For entertainment. Every once in a while, you know what? Let's play in the mud. Every once in a while, it can't be above it all 24/7. Let's jump in. Have some fun with the freaks. Let's continue.
If they withhold their vote. So there was a lot of people who are considered lefties who were running interference for politicians. And it got exposed. And so why was it so contentious?
I love this, by the way. It got exposed. I love when people use the word exposed. What was exposed? I don't know. Someone got into a fight with him on Twitter. Exposed!
there's so much vitriol. Why did I become so hated? Why did they write all those hit pieces about me in the establishment magazines? Because I exposed the game. So now everybody knows that AOC, the squad, Rashid Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, they're all fakers. And it's what I think Chris Hedges said before me, it's worse to have those people inside the Democratic Party because it gives people the misimpression, the bad idea that there's someone in the Democratic Party or in government actually fighting for you. So it keeps you going into the Democratic Party, just like Shama Sawant said.
You can apply this same Chris Hedges logic to electoral politics. Let's zoom out one layer. Like, you know how on your phone you got 2 times, 3 times zoom? We're on 3 times zoom. Let's zoom out 2 times zoom. Chris Hedges says the idea of people in the Democratic Party that are pretending to fight for you makes you go into the Democratic Party. So what are they doing? Advocating for the People's Party. The idea that that's going to do anything, let's be honest, all that's doing is shepherding people into electoral politics. Let's be honest. Let's call it as it is. Chris Hedges said so. Chris Hedges once told me, all the People's Party is doing is making people think electoral politics has value. But are they going to respond to that? No, they already clicked off my video. Anyone who would possibly be willing to maybe debate that, they've already clicked off the video.
That the road for progressives leads to a graveyard inside the Democratic Party. And that's what this revealed. Because they didn't have to ask permission to do this. They could have did it. But instead of withholding their vote and extracting a concession for the progressive wing of the party.
So once again, he says the word extracting, the concession. But what is the concession? A vote that gives us no information because everyone voting on it knows it's going to fail in the Senate anyway? So what if every Democrat voted for Medicare for all and it passed the House and died in the Senate? Then what? But that wouldn't probably happen. It would probably, only get like 70 votes anyway. But still, what information would we get? None. So the only concessions that we would extract is nothing. 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 Jimmy Dore's strategy, quote unquote strategy, was I'm going to whine and yell on my live stream and try to get people in Congress to do nothing. And the people in Congress decided, instead of doing nothing, let's have an actual conversation with Pelosi. Disagree, agree. I personally think that, let's be honest. Democrats in Congress, all of them, they're not going to help us. No one's going to help us. Bernie's not going to help us. Jimmy's not going to help us. Biden's not going to help us. AOC's not going to help us. Pelosi's not going to help us. Jeffries aren't going to help us. I'm sorry. His name is not plural. It's just, but no one's going to help us anyway. So they made some moves in their own little universe, and you know what? Whatever. But the best possible outcome that Jimmy is advocating for is that we get nothing. His strategy isn't a strategy. It is a punchy catchphrase and a grifting operation. It's like lock 'em up, lock her up, force the vote. All these 3-word phrases. You can put it on a t-shirt, put it on a coffee mug, put it on a hashtag, and make some money.
Which is what we elected them to do. Instead of doing that, they rolled over for the establishment on purpose to protect their own careers. They all got book deals and stuff after that. And that's what they're and then what did they do? They then demonized the activists like us. AOC said that.
The idea that Jimmy Dore is an activist is hilarious. Jimmy Dore. Known activist Jimmy Dore.
I was committing violence against her with my words, okay? And so, which led me to say, well, you can stab me with an adjective and I'll hit you with a bat and you can tell me which one is actual violence, okay? So that's what forced the vote was. We wanted to force a vote for Medicare for all on the House floor, and the leverage we could use was that Nancy Pelosi could not get elected Speaker without their votes. They decided not to do it. They turned on the active healthcare activist base.
Did they, though? Did they turn on the healthcare activist base? Did they? I don't think so. Now, again, I don't like anyone in Congress. I can have, I like this person more than that person, whatever. I can have a power ranking. But let's be honest. Pretty much everyone in Congress, waste of fucking time. Let's be real. Right? So, also, this is an unfortunate freeze frame here. Like, what the fuck is going on here? But also, were healthcare activists really stabbed in the back and betrayed? Every healthcare activist I know and I knew at the time, nurses, people in unions, people in healthcare unions, doctors, anybody in those communities that even knew who this guy was, laughed their fucking asses off at this guy's drunken rants. Now, again, I get drunk on a stream all the time and say a bunch of goofy shit, so I'm not trying to say that that's a bad thing. But what I'm saying is, when I go off on a drunken rant and say a bunch of goofy shit, I don't get stuck in a loop for 2 years straight and say the same thing over and over again. So, to anyone still in this guy's orbit, if you made it through this video, I don't even know what to tell you, but it's time to move on. And I'm not saying you have to subscribe to my show. You can if you want, but I don't fucking care. I don't give a shit if you subscribe to my show. I don't do this show for money. I don't do this show for views. I don't do this show for subscribers. I do this show for my own personal entertainment. And if you're entertained, then that's just a bonus. That's all I care about.
And the rest is history. They never, ever voted together as a bloc. Instead, they did one time vote together to make sure a horrible funding bill for Israel went through.
That's not true, though. They did vote together as a bloc against the bipartisan infrastructure bill, for example, saying that if the bipartisan infrastructure bill goes through without Build Back Better, that Build Back Better will never happen, and they were right. So the exact strategy, whatever it is, the voting as a bloc, they did do that. Jimmy Dore is just lying. Why? Because inconvenient truths hurt the grifting operation. I don't know, so when a fact occurs that is not in line with his beliefs, instead of changing his beliefs to match reality, he hides from reality and enters what I call the gone zone. This guy's in his own world. Who knows what's going on? He's not operating in the real world. Now again, like him or hate him, I'm ambivalent on electoral politics. I think it's a waste of fucking time. Now, I'm not saying don't vote. I say vote, of course. But thinking that your vote is going to save you is a fool's game. Voting is worth it. It doesn't take that much effort to vote. But if that's where all of your eggs are, if all your eggs are in the basket of electoralism and voting, yikes. You got a rude awakening, my friends. And so there you go. People still stuck in that world, man. 2 years. 2 years. It's a QAnon branch. It's just another conspiracy world. And again, I don't even, there's no commentary I need. The guy's just a clown ball. But anyway, there you go. Wanted to cash in on the media circus a little bit today. Thought I could make some extra money, so fuck it. Let's see if I can get Max a new toy with today's videos. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. So there you go.